Du Meister! Champions League football is back. It's the last game week. Are you excited? Because I'm excited. Du Besten! I like the new format. I like European nights. Tuesdays, Wednesdays. We back, baby! Le Grand Équipe! And they're all being played in one massive game week this very night at 8 p.m. UK time. The champions! Do, 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 do. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, my name's Charles and we're going to discuss the last week of the Champions League, what this new format has looked like and whether my team Arsenal will get the trophy at the end of the season. Champions League football comes to a conclusion of the group stage in a very odd end of January fixture. Of course, this year the format was slightly different. We had 36 teams. They played 8 game weeks against some random teams, 2 from each pot. Every team is divided into 4 pots. You played against 2 of them, irrespective of which seed you were yourself. Now, I personally quite like this new format in theory. Whether you are a top seed or a bottom seed within those 4 seeding pots, you will play 2 teams from each of them. So technically, it is much more fair as an overall thing. Real Madrid will play 2 hard teams, 2 easy teams, and 4 kind of in-the-middle teams. That is exactly the same as Bratislava, as an example. We all know that the top teams are kind of the best, and that's largely why they get into the knockout rounds. But for the first time in a very, very long time in the Champions League, you haven't seen the kind of dead rubber ties. And I say that as so Real Madrid, Man City, Bayern, whoever, those kind of top elite teams that get to the knockouts most years, they have potentially one hard team to play against, and then just a load of like dross fixtures. So quite often you'll see the Man Cities and Real Madrids of this world already having qualified after 4 games, and the last 2 are just going through the motions. And it used to be about if you finished top, you got a runner-up team, and therefore if all the best teams finished top, it would be in their interest to be in first place. So they played one of the weaker runner-up sides. But this new format, it is cheeky to say the least. Small commercial break! If you are watching this and you like what you see, give the little like and subscribe buttons a go. Only 168 of you are on this channel. That means 99.9% of the internet is not subscribed. Please get on board, let me know about it, leave a comment and watch the rest of the video. This time around, we've really seen those top teams struggle. And if you take someone like Man City, they're on 8 points from 7 games. Do you know how wild that is? Whilst Liverpool are up there on 21 from 21, Man City are on 8 points. If that was in a domestic league like the Premier League, that would be relegation form. You'd be on for around 40 points, 42 points, something like that. You'd get a manager sacked, etc. So I like this new format. I think it's played around with it. There is a chance that Paris Saint-Germain don't go through, that Man City don't go through. And the biggest thing for me is those teams ranked between 9th and 24th have to play an extra knockout round against each other. So I presume 9th place will play someone who's ranked from 17th to 24th, and there'll be a draw element. I haven't quite looked at that side of it. But there is a realistic proposition that some giant ties will happen in that pre-last 16 knockout round. There is a chance that the likes of Juve, Real Madrid, Man City, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, Dortmund, they will all be in a draw against each other. And there's a real chance that one of them is not making the knockouts. A little cheeky extra, a little something different, is those top 8 teams will then be drawn against someone who finishes in that knockout round of 9th to 24th. So technically, a team like Liverpool know they'll be playing someone between 9th and 24th. It still could be a big team, right? But there's one extra layer to this. Once you have been drawn in that round of 16, you already know the funnel of which teams are in your half of the draw. And if you're in Liverpool's position in first place, there is a chance that you will never get drawn against the team in second place until the final. Which is crazy, right? So there is a world in which if Arsenal and Liverpool were the top 2 teams, let's say Barca dropped points in the last game and Arsenal got top points, you could have those 2 top teams, 2 English teams, not due to meet each other until the final. And you'd know that already before that playoff round, before the last 16 has even occurred. So what happens is you can very quickly see which side of the draws you want to be on, depending on how the chips fall. And I'm really excited for a draw for the first time in ages. What we used to have was a kind of protectionist system where teams from the same nations couldn't be drawn against each other in the last 16. So you automatically knew you couldn't be drawing certain teams. And from a team like Arsenal in England, I don't want Liverpool or Man City or whoever else ends up being in the competition. But I used to hate the fact I already knew who my opponent was because it couldn't have been any of those teams. The same is true of the multiple teams from Germany, Spain, and Italy. You kind of end up avoiding big giant clashes. This time around, there's no protection on that. And there's also a world in which if I can predict my opponents, I can predict in advance who I'm going to get and whether it's worked out in my favour or not. I think it's going to be super exciting. I like this draw and I can't wait for it to happen. Now the flip side. In this last game week, there are all 18 matches played at the same time. I love that. It feels like a World Cup or a Euros where you don't want the advantage of seeing what you need to do to qualify. It's just all or nothing on that night. However, those last 18 ties are really boring. Like, they're really boring. I can't think of that many games I'd like to watch. Maybe Barcelona against Atalanta is quite fun, but all the other fixtures, they're not really heavyweight clashes or things that I think will be that exciting. So Arsenal are away at Girona, brilliant. It's Man City B in just before we play Man City A at the weekend. They're both owned by the City Group. Girona are pants. They're not pants as in like Arsenal will steamroll them, but they're pants in terms of like they are not high entertainment. I don't be like, oh, I can't wait for that one-off away fixture in Girona. But there are some results which could be big. They're not fun games, but they could be monumental to whether this season's tournament is a success and whether it continues in this vein. One of them, Man City at home to Club Brugge. If Man City win, they are through, mathematically done. And they will take Club Brugge's position. Club Brugge are 3 points ahead of them. However, the goal difference would be Man City going ahead. But if Brugge even get a draw, bye-bye Man City. They are out. So it's a must-win game. It should be easy, but this is Man City in 2025. Who knows? Aston Villa will be hoping for a top 8 finish. It's very difficult for them, but they are at home to Celtic. Celtic have qualified, but they can't be in the top 8. Is it a fun tie or not? I don't know. Bayern Munich will hope to get into that top 8. They need a big win against Bratislava and results to go their way. That home tie could be exciting, if not a little one-sided. As mentioned, Barcelona against Atalanta is delicious. And it's delicious because if Barcelona slip up, they might lose second place and therefore have the chance of getting drawn against Liverpool. The other flip side is Atalanta need the points to stay in that top 8. They're currently on 14 points and in danger if they lost of going down. So they will really want a result because if you make that top 8, you've been off 2 fixtures because you're not in the playoff round and you technically should get easier sides in that last 16 draw. One last one that excites me is Stuttgart at home to Paris Saint-Germain. If Stuttgart were to win, Paris Saint-Germain might be a bye-bye, which means heads roll. We all know this. If you don't win the Champions League or get close in the deep into the knockout rounds as a PSG manager, bye-bye. So I look forward to that. I think Paris Saint-Germain win. In fact, I actually predict all the big teams will go through. I don't think we're going to see City or Paris Saint-Germain or the like fall out. But it is all about that last 16 draw for me. As for Arsenal, if I was to bring it back home, I'm right outside the Emirates Stadium here. It's horrible weather, and that's why I'm not filming this with a lap of the stadium. Arsenal could do with a win for morale and boosting all of that. We want to finish in that top 8 and preferably second if we can. But there's not really any depth. The injuries are there, and I'm not going to get the violin out and play all of that. But it will be Kai Havertz up top again. It will be Trossard and Martinelli and Sterling competing for 2 spots around him. We have too many injuries in the wrong areas, unfortunately. Ethan Ranieri is back. I look forward to him. I think these kind of players and these kind of nights are made for Ethan Ranieri. I think he's a Champions League baller. Mars Lewis Skelly, no ban anymore. Shame on you, Michael Oliver. That's in another video that we'll cover. He will be free for the weekend. But Arsenal will have to look forward. They have Man City at home on Sunday. Do you rest players for that fixture or do you put it all in the Champions League? I don't know, but I know Mikel Arteta likes winning and I like Mikel Arteta, so I guess I like winning too. Is Ødegaard back? I don't know. Will David Raya get another clean sheet in the Champions League? Is this the night that Kai Havertz becomes a household name in the Champions League? Will we see a run out of the youth players and we see the likes of Maldini, Kokori getting game time for the Arsenal? As ever, wherever you are watching the Champions League this evening, get your mates around, have some chips and dips and a couple of brewskis, be good humans, do good things,